was extremely anxious that I would be sent off to war. And of course, in her case, she had endured 2.5 years of my dad being in World War II in combat in the Pacific theater of the war. She was very distraught, and I figure she's the one that got me set up with the doctor to have this exam, because, I mean, you know, that was just the way it was. My father was a World War II combat veteran. He was one of those combat veterans that just didn't talk about the war. He was totally uninvolved and unemotional about it and removed. And so I just got no input from him. I didn't get that support and kind of advice and encouragement, you know, strengthening from him at all. It just was left up kind of on my own.
I come from a military family,
right,
and we all served. They felt pretty well the way I did. They weren't as adamant about it as me. Right. It was kind of an opportunity, and I wanted to serve my country.
Right.
These dead Japanese, and I remember this one that was these civilians, Japanese civilians, that apparently were running from an air raid or something, and they'd gotten trampled, and it was, you know, blood going down the steps.
They just worked together, you know. They were just liberals in government, liberals in the media. Just like we have right now, the same situation, except it's more extreme now than it was even back then.
There I am, junior year. Of course, you start thinking about going to college. Well, here in the news is a big protest on a college campus, and, you know, the National Guard comes, and they, however it started, I don't remember how it started, but it ended up that the National Guard, some of the troops, shot and killed 4 students and wounded 8 others.
Nobody resented the draft, because there was a lot of people that fled the United States, and some of them went off to college there just to keep from serving their country.
And those were the draft dodgers?
Right, the draft dodgers. And they were very much resented. And then, and it was even worse when the soldiers came home that had been fighting communism, and they were spit on. And this caused a lot of resentment, and people like me, which I'm 80 years old now, still have a lot of resentment.
What I remember, it's like being in this big kind of locker room shower area and being naked with all the other guys. I don't remember exactly how the exam went.
So there were hundreds of people, and you're just like lemmings being shuffled around. Take off your clothes, leave them here, carry them with you. And you never really think you're going into the Army. You think, I'm going to get out of it. Something will happen where I don't have to do it.
I gave him a letter from a medical doctor. I have still, but had then experienced what I just knew as trick shoulder. I don't know if it was weeks or a couple of months later that I got my military classification, and it was 4F, which meant that there was no chance that I would be drafted for active military.
He was a really good football player. He didn't have to go because of the knee injury. The next guy, who was between the two of us, they examined him and they said, "You're good to go." And he said, "You missed something, Doc." And the doctor said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "I only have one testicle, one ball." And he had lost one through mumps. And the doctor looked at him and said, well, son, if I were you, I wouldn't lose that other one. And he went with me. He was drafted with me. Both of them said, boy, did we screw up. We could be in jail right now having 3 hots in a cot in a jail. Now here we are in Vietnam sleeping in the jungle. You know, the whole thing, the draft was so unfair because middle, upper middle, and upper class kids didn't have to go because they'd go to college, they could go to graduate school, and they avoided the draft where their parents got them into reserve units or National Guard units, which never deployed.
That was a great relief on the one hand. I mean, it really, you know, it's like, okay, I'm not going. And I don't know if at the time, I think at the time I started having a little bit of a sense of shame, just because otherwise, other than, you know, that knowledge, I played sports, I played football, I played basketball. I mean, I looked healthy, you know, what's the deal, you know?
The worst feeling I ever had in the Army was my first night in boot camp at Fort Dix, New Jersey, because they had shaved our heads, put green fatigues on, and you couldn't identify with people who you thought might have gone to college or something like that. And we were in these barracks with bunk beds, and people were belching and farting and telling stupid jokes, and you think, this is a nightmare. I mean, this is not what my life has been up to now. And it makes you realize it's the process of kind of dumbing you down or getting you molded into a unit.
I don't believe in covering up anything now. I mean, we're supposed to be a free country, and the people are supposed to know everything going on. I think the distrust in government really came with Lyndon Johnson when he and Hubert Humphrey, who was the author of the Great Society, when they took Social Security and everything, and they were going to make a great society and everybody was going to be happy. We were going to have a socialist utopia. That just did not work, and people resented it.
The Eastern world, it is exploding, violence flaring, bullets loading. You're old enough to kill, but not for voting. You don't believe in war, but what's that gun you're toting? And even the Jordan River has bodies floating. But you tell me over and over and over again, my friend, you don't believe we're on the eve of destruction. Don't you understand what I'm trying to say?